Hello everyone, this is Ali. Welcome to another video of Space. If you remember in the previous video, where you can find the link somewhere over here or just in the comment or description section, I was talking about the Space library that is an alternative, high performance alternative to Mediator. If you remember, I was talking about it, how we can use it, how we can improve it, what sort of modules we have. So this is the second video. It's because it's been through a lot of changes. If you see, it is now version 2, which means it's got major updates. And I'm going to be talking about this major updates and how it might affect you. If you like that Space library, I'm just going to ask you start that library so we can get to be known by someone else's just like you. And in this repository, it's also the main MD file, readme file is also updated. What it is updated with is a few important parts, especially when you're setting up multi-project and in-memory modules and or all the other modules as well. We have other changes too, which is profiling. We can now set different profiles for different functions, let's say, or different modules. And we can set these profiles. For example, if this is in-memory module, let's say, now we can have different profiles for these ones. For example, in this default profile, we can say my time span, which means how long I'm going to cache the value, is 1 minute, for example. But I'm also defining a new profile with the name of fast. So it will be 5 second cached only. And if you use one of these, like as it is, for example, cache module, if you still use duration X, if you say so, this is going to be it. So it is not going to use any profile or anything else. It's because you are now overriding the value. Let's say if we had more than one value, currently we have only time span, which means duration over here. Let's say we had 5 value for default profile and we have set all 5s. As long as you don't override that value over here, cache module is going to use the default profile's value. The second you override any property here, now it is going to override the default profile's value. So if we, let's say the same thing actually, if we have 1 minute over here for the default profile, without specifying the profile name, I'm saying my duration is 60 seconds, it is going to override. Theoretically, 60 seconds is 1 minute, so they are the same, but this value will be overriding it. But however, you can just set the profile name like as it is fast. If you say, for example, in here, now it is going to be cached only 5 seconds. This is one of the most important things as a change in modules and especially in memory modules. The other thing that we've added as an ability is that you are now able to provide your custom provider, like my custom cache provider. Not all of the modules has to have these, but in-memory cache, let's say, is now supporting the custom cache provider, which means, so as it is in-memory cache, so it is using in-memory, iMemory cache implementation of .NET framework, but you can still use that one and override some of those. For example, do we have an example of that? Copy, search. We didn't do the implementation, but it is super fancy. It is super easy to do the implementation. If you go to search that function over here, actually, can we search it? Test custom cache provider, for example, we have now one implementation. So in this one in this example, so we are now using the iCache module, and we created something else for this for test project. As you see, it is under test. So now I am now able to provide how I'm going to store, how I'm going to generate a key for it, how I'm going to get it from the cache. So even though it is in-memory cache, so you can create your own customization, like custom cache for Redis, for example. You can just override it, and you can make that cache module use your function, your module instead. The big change, however, on the in the multi-project setup was, let me show you the project actually that we had earlier. If you remember, we had two two domains over here. One is to do, and then the other one was user. Now I extracted that user module to another class library. So in the current version, as we can see, it is 1.3.4 preview version for both. In that current version, how it works is normally it is going to use only one project to generate this source generated code. If you see the analyzer, for example, here, now you will see dependency injection extension is in our main API. This was causing a problem when you have any other project in your solution that has all the handlers. Now I'm going to show you the user domain over here. So we are now using handle, and all sort of space things, right? Which means technically when you build that project, as you've already added that NuGet package, which brings our space.abstraction, which brings again us the source generator. When you build that project, now that project is going to have its own generated code, which is the same actually. So the function here is that add space source generated. It is the same. And in here, in the other project, it is the same, add space source generated. So that was causing a problem. So when you have multiple files and where you have handlers, let's say, or source generated requires code on the other project, that was causing a problem. It's because, as I just said, as you see, both are sharing the same function. But when you call add space, for example, where is it? Okay. When you call add space in your API project, it was not able to find the function that lives in another project. This is the first problem. And the other problem is, if you see dependency injection, it generates, it's registered the space registry function class. But if you have space registry class in both, so in your API project and in your another project, if you have this one, this is going to conflict. So which one is called later is going to override the other. So it is not able to combine both space registry or something. To be able to find a solution to that, so I have implemented something like that. So in your main API, now what you're going to have is a property. So space generate root aggregator. So this is now API project is going to be the root aggregator where the dependency injection, the actual dependency injection happens. And for the others automatically will become dependency. Let's say, if you just check over here, for example, I call it satellite. Yeah, satellite. So the others will be the satellite project. But you need to update the project to, let's say, 2.0.0. This is the latest version for this one. And this will be 4.0, I guess. So now I'm going to, let me copy these and paste it here too. So when I update these NuGet packages in both projects now, let me show it to you again. So dependency injection extension, and in here, dependency injection extension. So let me rebuild the project. Now I've updated these, and I should actually be able to see the new generated code. This is not generating files. It is either a problem with Visual Studio not showing it, or there's something wrong. I don't know. But imagine, so now as this is a satellite project, it is not going to generate the same same generated code with the demo API now. It's because now this is going to be the root aggregator, and this will be automatically non-root, but you can still specify root aggregator as false, so it would just work as it is. So normally in the previous version, you can just test it though. We shouldn't be able to find these handlers, so user-related handlers, for example. It's because it now lives somewhere else, so this space API should not be able to find these and hit the functions. But as now we are updating our function NuGet packages with the latest version, and we are now marking them as root and satellite projects, let's say. If we hit that endpoint, it should now be okay. This is the actually biggest change. Let's go So if we go to login, for example, now if I'm able to see, as you just see, it is 201 created. So I'm able to hit that function, that endpoint, that handler that lives somewhere else. Can we handle login? Can we just debug that? It is because this is not login. Yeah, as you see, it is now finding and hitting that. The other thing could be now, if we go to, where is it? Here. So for example, we said cached 10 seconds and we don't have any cache, but now we should be able to add the profilers, the profiles, let's say. It's now because going to say, not here, in memory. So now I'm going to say with default profile, I don't have to specify the profile name as it is default already. So now it is going to be, I'm able to write. So now it is gonna be time span from second 1. Just keep it as in 1 second cache only. So every second I should call it, just should work. So this is the default profile, remember. If I go to here and say cache module, but if I remove this, now the default should be 1 second only. It should just get all its config from the default profile. However, I can still add more. So like with profile now, let's say min, right? Or say 10M, right? I'm just gonna say O. It's easy to write. So in that O, maybe the time span should be 1 minute, right? So if I use that one here, for example, let me copy this and say default, no, profile should be 1M. Was it 10M? 1M. So 1 minute, if it is 1 minute, as you just see. Now it is 1 minute. So let me show you the first one actually. So it should now be 1 second cached, right? So get user detail should be cached only for 1 second. So send user, I get it. So this one, yeah, list users. So now I'm hitting it. Oh yeah, that's why I shouldn't have that implementation actually. I was testing something probably. Let me hit it again. But yeah, this is an example of how you can just create your own custom module provider for cache. So hit, okay, create it, get it. So waiting response, and I get it again. So 1.3 milliseconds. So now I'm waiting for more than 1 second. So I'm gonna hit. So as you see, it is still awaiting it. Send request, more than 1 second. Send request comes, send. Now it comes from there. If I was using the profile itself, as you just see, I didn't mention any duration or something like that here. Now it should be cached for 1 second and for 1 minute. So now I'm gonna hit that one. So create user, so get user. So now awaiting, so I get the user back. Now I'm taking my time. It's because it should be cached, as you just see, for 1 minute. Caching it, 0.99, 1.1 or something. So it is going to be cached for 1 minute only. If you read everything over here, for both space and in-memory cache, you can just find what the new changes are. But plus, in the space application, in the tests folder, we now have space benchmark test. So we have benchmark results. Every time I make some changes in my local computer, I run these benchmarks against my computer again in my computer and just generate the results. For example, the last one was in 27th, and you can see the results. So the meta MD says what sort of computer I was using to test and what happened and what sort of file I've generated. For example, in that one, I was able to test only the handler bench only. So there will only be one function. And this function, this test actually shows how space works, how against the mediator, the one that works with source generator, and against the mediator. So this was not using the source generator, it was using the reflection. That's why it generates so much memory allocation, which takes so long. So the mediator, so as I just said, it is fast. Space is test. It is gonna become better. It's because in my early test, it was like 3 times more than that one. It was about 990 or 100 nanoseconds or something. So now I'm keeping it improved as always. But as you can see, it doesn't use any memory allocation, so it is allocation free. In the previous test, for example, in the 18th, so we are gonna have multiple tests. So as you can just see in MD file, so we have multiple tests. For example, handler only, it is 36.99 something. It is probably the same. Handler with pipeline. So now I created pipeline for each library and just hit the endpoint again. As you can see, no allocation at all. But again, it is still slower than Mediator, but it's killing the Mediator. And this is the sequential, or what is the test for? Sequential benchmark. If we hit that notification sequentially, what's going to happen? This is it. And this is the benchmark for parallel. For example, if we hit notifications in parallel against so this is the task van all, normal task van all, and this is the parallel inline. So this is how space uses it. Space parallelism uses it. And this is if you were to use it in parallel somehow with task van all. And this is again another test, which is the send function. So the send function in space has multiple overrides. And we were testing, I was testing which overrides performs the best. So you can use strongly type, you can use iRequest type, so you can use object. So, and this is how it is going to perform. So the best one is basically the unnamed, so type unnamed. So basically you can see the functions itself though. If you go to space, for example, send benchmarks, and let me find the type generic unnamed. So this is it. So you are now passing the request and you are letting the response, you're setting the response as well, and we are getting it. But with the name, it is basically request response, and you're giving it a name. So the result might be a bit slower, just a bit, maybe. Let's say it is the same. But this is the benchmark result. So you can run your benchmarks. You can you can run that benchmarks into your computer and just try to merge it to my function, my application, my space. I can't talk. You can merge it to that repository over here, so we can just observe if it behaves differently in your computer. But now, as I just said, the space is becoming better, and every day. Don't forget to hit the star button. Right there, click the star button. It's going to help the repository. You can just see the releases, in what release, what change log is being, let's say, is being done. You can just see all the issues now has been completed. As you can see, we have loads of pull requests closed already. Some of them by me, some of them by the other, some of them even Copilot in over here. If you like that content, please hit the like button. And if you have any question regarding the space library or any other modules, you just let me know in the comment section below. Until the next video, happy coding.